Wendy's from North Carolina. Alex is from Virginia, and Ann is the Tennessee. So if any of you in that area, please make sure you reach out to them. So we're going to talk about the patient's journey and how to make sure that you advocate for yourself and how to find resources. Please go to the website and get the resource page. Go and watch the videos. Go and get all the links to get financial help, because that's important. So for a lot of you, this is the first time that you have met me. I am Mary Ann. I am the founder of NCAN, along with Robert. I was misdiagnosed for 7 years. 5 years of survival rate, and I'm here 22 years later. So I am truly, truly grateful. And you really need to reach out for support. We find out that a lot of the men don't want to reach out. They may be embarrassed. It's not an easy thing to talk about, but you really need to talk about. And my biggest thing that you got to do is when you go to the doctor's office, you have to be honest with the doctors. I know I'm guilty of it as much as anybody else in this room. A doctor walks in and says, "How are you feeling?" And what do you say? "I'm fine." "How's that diarrhea?" "Fine." So try to make sure that you keep like a little diary, like a week or two before, of what you ate, what the problems were, because I think that when that white coat comes in, we all shut down. Write down any questions that you may have for your doctor and say to them, "Hey, listen, I have these questions. I know you're busy, but can I leave these here and maybe you answer it at a later time? Like, can you have your nurse get back to me?" If you're sitting in the office having your exam, not your exam, but sitting there talking to the doctor, ask for him or her to allow you to record it. Because once you hear the word cancer, you shut down, totally shut down. By being able to take notes, being able to record it, or bring a loved one with you, it's really important that you bring your family and your friends into this. This journey is a family journey. It's not just you affected by it. It's your caregivers. It's your family members. I know how many people will raise their hand. How many times have you canceled an event because you couldn't get out of bed or you were in the bathroom too long? When I was before my diagnosis, I could go to the bathroom some days 20, sometimes 40 times a day. It literally was hard. We lived in a house that had one bathroom. My children grew up with, if you're taking a shower, you have to leave the door unlocked for mommy. Now I moved down to South Carolina, my children are gone, and now I have 3 bathrooms. But, just think about it. Think about all the times that you've missed events and stuff like that. It's hard to explain to your family about this disease. It is not easy. There is, not a lot of information out there. I mean, there's a lot more than when I got diagnosed. But if you're having a hard time trying to explain it to your family, call us up. We'll send you all kinds of information. We'll send you brochures. We'll do a Zoom meeting with you if you want. But you really should get your family involved. You should get your friends involved, so this way they know what's going on. Because I think they think, like the doctors think, it's all in your head. So if you explain to them and you sit down and have a session with them, they better understand. There was one thing that, before I forget, Ann brought up. We don't have real good statistics about this disease, okay? When I was diagnosed, 1 out of every 100 autopsies done had a carcinoid tumor in the appendix. Now that's 1 out of every 100 autopsies. How many people die without autopsies, okay? This is really, really important. Please talk to your caregivers and to your doctors that when they sign your death certificate, whether you die of a heart attack, stroke, or whatever, if you have ever been diagnosed with a neuroendocrine tumor or a carcinoid tumor, they put that on the death certificate so we can start getting records. There is not enough information out there. We are all the time getting calls of how many people in our area are getting it. So please, that's something to talk about with your family and your doctor, so we could try to start getting better statistics and get people to understand this is not as rare as we all think. So Dave, could you tell us a little bit about your story really quick? 3 minutes.
3 minutes or less?
4 minutes or less.
Okay. Yeah, Dave, Vickery, Michigan. In May, I crossed over the 25-year mark. Yeah. My wife would attribute that to just pure stubbornness. It's probably part of it.
I think that's a
Yeah,
lot of us.
yeah. I was very fortunate in that very early on in my carcinoid neuroendocrine journey, I got to Dr. Warner. And a year and a half into my journey, he did 2 hepatic artery chemical embolizations, which we heard about today, and it totally cleaned my liver up. I had previously had, on an emergency basis, a 6-foot small bowel, including ileum, cecum, and a foot of the large resection. And just for grins, the guy also whacked away at my liver a little bit, and then they also decided there was something funny in my lungs, so they went in there and grabbed that. Proved to be just a fungal growth. So, but I got one question. So that's my journey, and 21 years ago, I started the Michigan Carcinoid Group, and I hear Mary Ann talk about starting NCAN. I go, wow, my vision was just a little too geographically constrained. I could be sitting there. I could have been right there.
Hey.
No, I don't.
This was not exactly my plan.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
very happy being a homemaker.
Yeah. So I do have a question for the group. First of all, who had that cheesecake thing? Wasn't that great? Yeah, I'm sorry, wrong question. Oh, yeah, love it. Yeah. So how many of you at some point as you've watched these presentations have said to yourself, I don't understand anything that's been said in the last minute? Oh, come on, raise your hand. I know. This is probably my 15th one. And so I try to stay up on things. A few times I got lost, okay? That's natural. I want you to rest easy about that. But don't back off and say, okay, I can't handle it, I'm not gonna go get information anymore. Because next time you'll understand a little bit more. And the time after that, that word that you didn't understand this time, you'll all of a sudden go, oh yeah, I know what they're talking about there. So keep at it, because this is a fast-moving disease on the treatment and improvement front. And it really will benefit you if you can stay up on it. So that's kind of my advice to you, is don't get overwhelmed by the data coming at you and by the terms you don't understand. It is necessarily very technical, but that's your doctor's job to interpret that. But just hang in there, and I guarantee you as time goes on, you won't get overwhelmed quite so much. So.
Also, don't forget that there is a lot of videos online. That YouTube channel, use it. There is a very extensive glossary on the website to give you all the words that you don't understand, and like initials and all that stuff. So this way you can find out exactly what's going on. And of course, if you have any questions, always call us. We can always try to get in touch with the doctor to better explain to you what's going on. Wendy.
Wendy Knoll, I'm from North Carolina. I am on 17, so I'm coming up. I'm coming up right back. I'm tracing you, Dave. I am a lung primary. I had surgery in 2005, and so I am missing my right lung, and to my left, she's missing her left. So together we make one patient, one set of lungs. But as far as my journey, that I've learned a pearl of wisdom. Back 17 years ago, when I had my lung removed, they told me, like, okay, we got it out, like, go live your life. And I did get monitored every year, and then it got to the point that 7 years into it, they said, well, it hasn't come back, it'll never come back. So let's not do as many scans as we're doing. I'll see you in 5 years. And I was a little nervous about that, so I said, well, what about 3? I was like bargaining, because I was nervous. And he was like, oh, okay, 3. So I came back at 3, and it had metastasized everywhere. And mine was low grade, KI 67-2, so very, very low. So it just behaves in very different ways, and when you least expect it. So one thing that I would love to tell all of you is to never, let your guard down. Always be confident about pushing your doctor to what you would like. So be confident, be positive. I know Marianne was, or the caregivers were talking about be helpful and always be nice, obviously, to your physician team, because you don't want to build a wall. But when you need something or you want something, be confident, be friendly, and stick to what you believe in and be an advocate for yourself. So that was sort of when I met Marianne and Bob. I started, researching and just spreading, anything that I could. I was in that gathering information phase, and I learned a lot. And I'm so glad that you guys are all here, just absorbing all the information. I wish I had that 17 years ago. So that's my pearl of wisdom.
Are you going to make it, Alex? Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. So I'm Alex, Alexandria Youngling, and I'm from Virginia, and I am a lung net primary. I was diagnosed 3 years ago in December, 3 weeks after I got married to my husband. We went on our honeymoon, came back a week later. I was sick, ended up in the hospital for 8 days, and we got the diagnosis. But what it really was the doctor came in, said, oh, well, your biopsy results. Anyways, we're going to do this bronchoscopy. And I was like, no, we don't know the results yet. And he goes, oh, it's malignant. He goes, but it's good cancer, so you'll be fine. We're going to go in there and just get it out. No big deal, and you'll have to see a surgeon. We're probably going to take out your lung. And then went on continuing to talk. So I just want to know, I've got a question. How many of you guys heard you have the good cancer? Yeah, isn't that sad? You have the good cancer. I could never imagine saying that to someone. And they told me I had carcinoid cancer. No information, nothing more. We left really confused. And I started Googling. But as we heard Amanda and Sarah say, not WebMD Googling. I was looking at articles, anything that was accredited. And it actually brought me to Facebook, interesting enough, where I found the Lungnoid group. And through the Lungnoid group, I was actually able to figure out it's neuroendocrine. And there's this woman and this foundation, and then I met my lung sister who was there before I even had my surgery. So I have been blessed with having NCAN and the zebras here with me from the start of my journey. But I also was blessed that I decided to advocate for myself and do that research, because there are so many physicians out there who have no idea, and they don't know, and they are giving us false information. So kind of like what Wendy said, just keep on advocating for yourself, because really, other than yourself and your caregivers, that's the only ones who are going to do it. And if you have a doctor who isn't listening to you or is offering something that you're not comfortable, like Wendy, and they're not willing to compromise with what you want and what their plan of action is, find another doctor. Go somewhere else, because something like this, where there are no data, there's not much we can go by. We need people willing to work with us and work with other people's stories to make sure we're taken care of. So network, talk with people, listen to what they have to say, and even if you're not lining up with what you have going on and what they're telling you, take it, put it in the back of your mind, because you never know where you might be a year from now, 2 years from now, or in Wendy's case, 12, 13 years from first diagnosis. It's just very important to keep up on everything. So, and my husband is my biggest supporter, so those caregivers out there, thank you guys, because we couldn't really do it without you. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. Anne. Hi.
I'm intimidated by microphones, but I'll talk your ear off one-on-one. How am I doing? I'm okay? Okay. I am Ann Dabbs. I'm a native East Tennessean. I was diagnosed at age 59 with stage 4, grade 1, a very low Ki-67 of less than 1%. But I was diagnosed immediately by in the process with carcinomatosis, which is kind of a bizarre manifestation of neuroendocrine cancer, in that you hear the descriptions of the sandpaper or dandelion seeds all over your abdominal walls. Dr. Lou called mine barnacles. So I knew immediately, well, it's interesting, it was my allergist who diagnosed me 7 weeks after I first started complaining of symptoms. As Dow said, we were living in Washington State at the time. All of our family was on the East Coast. It was the two of us, his mother, and sadly a dying golden retriever. It was not a pretty time in our life. But because of that, we had to form a team. He and I immediately. We have been a team for all of our lives. And once we got over this shock that it was incurable, I was ineligible for surgery, and 3 to 5 years, we started researching. And because we didn't have lots of social obligations away from our family and long-term friends, our true nerdiness came out. I'm married to an engineer. I gave birth to 2 engineers, and I know how to research. We met with a lady who lived across the state of Washington from us, who fortuitously shared her story of having lived with neuroendocrine cancer for 17 years. And Dow and I agree, the 2 hours that we spent with Sochi and her husband have as great an impact on our living with my diagnosis with a positive attitude. Once we got over the shock, first thing I thought was, I'm glad this didn't happen when I had small children. What would I have done? I'm glad this did not happen while I was caring for our 4 parents. Well, we still had, my mother-in-law was still alive, but 3 parents had died, and we had taken care of them. Thank goodness that had not happened then. My third thought was, how do I tell my children? And I did have the luxury of being long distance, in that I could take my time to make sure I had the correct factual information before I shared it with them. They did not know of this sudden onset of, this sudden culmination, I'll say, of symptoms. And I realized that when we called them, I had to show them my attitude, because that would become their attitude. So many of you have heard my story, but I named my cancer Carl. Carl's personality is fashioned after Cousin Eddie in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Y'all get it, don't you? Right? I will never be Ned. Never. And I accept that. I got a slow-growing cancer. It interferes with my life. It interferes with my plans. But you know what? Some nice things have happened to me since my family met Carl. My husband and I have unified in ways that I don't know that we would have otherwise. I've dropped all of my bad husband jokes after my stand-up act. He no longer jokes about my muffin top. So, you know, there are blessings in that. Our 2 sons have shown us that in spite of many parenting mistakes, we've gotten a lot of things right because they have our backs. And that's invaluable. The other thing that Carl has given me, or my family, are so many of you in this room. We attended our first NCAN conference in Seattle in May 2017, 5 weeks after I had my 8-hour debulking surgery. If you've never been across the state of Seattle, it's not a smooth highway. But we got there, and when we left that after the day-long regional conference, I said to Dow, I said, as soon as I can, we're paying it forward. So she was such an inspiration to us. I had by this time heard so many horror stories of people with misdiagnoses that my story, even though I now know I had symptoms as far back as 2007, should I say they're right? Yeah, 2007. I was too busy enjoying life. I had a family to raise. I had a business to run. I had grandparents to take care of. I didn't have time to be sick. I didn't want to be sick. But when the time came that all of those started congealing, I had to face the fact. And so that's why I've become very active with NCAN. I am afraid if we don't get the word out that the website is too underutilized. It is a fabulous resource for all the reasons you have heard here. I highly encourage you to utilize it, and it's constantly being updated. So going forward, I'm very lucky. I'm on Sandostatin LAR, have been since before my surgery. I've added Zermello to the mix. I do have a kidney that is the bane of my existence. That's what I worry about now more than my cancer. And we watch the remaining carcinomatosis metastases that threaten my good kidney, because I don't want to go down that route. But, you know, like Dave said, every time we come here, this is my 5th one, and every time we come here, we learn something new, or I hear an old fact reworded just ever so slightly by a different physician that time, that all of a sudden, that it clicks. And I realize, I do get this. You know, and I'm learning to spell most of the big words too.
It's true.
So thank you. Marianne, back to you.
Okay. If any of you have ever read the blog, Anne has written the blog for us for over a year now, right? We're always looking for interesting articles or something or things. Contact Anne or me, and we'd love to have some thoughts on how you would like to have the blog go. Is that good, Anne? What the?
Yes,
Okay.
please. Now, is Diane here? Diane takes my crazy words and she puts them into graphics that I go, oh my gosh, this is the attention getter. We try to perk people up. We try to give hope. We try to share factual information, and we are always looking for new ideas. And we would greatly appreciate that.
Thank you guys for sharing your story. If any of you in the area where they are group leaders, make sure you stop by and say hello. When we go upstairs, I'll introduce you to the other NCAN leaders so that you can meet them too. Remember that if there isn't a support group by you and you're interested in starting one, we do the training and stuff, give me a call because we'd love to get across all 50 states, if not more. And I think that's it. So,
Can I add one more thing to that?
No.
If there isn't a support group near you, I'm willing to bet every single support group would love to have you be a member anyway. I've got a couple from other states, wonderful. So reach out to somebody you're comfortable with and you'll get their information and yeah, and then you'll be ready to start your own group for whatever place you're at.
And
I wanna-
and the, the group leaders are also very excited to help you get started. So we're all here for support and things like that.
Can I say one more thing? Oh, okay, sorry. And yes, like we were saying, even if you don't, some people, support groups are not their thing. They don't like big settings or, groups of people. Reach out to us one-on-one, because we can do that too. Just send us a message, send us a text, come up to us, get my phone number. I would love to walk you through. I would love to talk with you. It doesn't have to be just that support group setting. It can be one-on-one as well.
We also have Facebook pages that we can make up, and it'll be private pages. So we have 48 of them, so we can always add state on there if you're willing to do that. Because some people aren't ready to actually meet in person, so we can do the virtual. And anybody that is a member of NCAN chapter groups, we have a second Saturday of the month, a private doctor come in, or a nurse, or pharmaceutical companies come in and talk, and then afterwards we do a Zoom call. And if you don't have a chapter in your state, you can join a local chapter, so this way you get the link. We do that so this way it's not as busy as, say, the Facebook page that, the Facebook thing that the Carcinoid Cancer Foundation. These are all private, so they're not public information. One other thing I want to say about the Facebook pages is that if you see bullying going on, please report it, okay? We are here to help each other. We are not here to tear each other down. We are here to help each other. I don't care if you're high grade, low grade, mid grade, whatever you are a net patient. This is a net community, and we are Zebra Strong. We should not be bullying people. And if a person says something about a doctor and you love that doctor and they hate that doctor, that's their opinion, and they're entitled to it. We don't have a right to say who to go to and not to go to. So when you're writing on Facebook, think about what you're going to say. And if you see somebody's bullying, like you said about that person, then stand up and say, hey, we're all human here. We're all caregivers. We're all patients. Have patience with each other. Be kind. There's no reason to be rude on that page. I've seen that. Yeah, never. And if you ever see that on any of my pages, you call me immediately, because they'll be gone. I will not tolerate any of that stuff. We really do have some amazing leaders, and we really do care. We're here for you. Never, ever feel like you're alone in this. You're not. We are here as a family. So please reach out to us.